Hey beautiful beings, welcome back to the withlovecole YouTube channel. Here you'll find tons of videos on wellness, motherhood, human design, transits, and so much more. And I also share a lot about my family life and what's it like to live as a 3-5 self-projected projector. So follow me on my journey of growth and self-development and shop my wellness shop up an apothecary at withlovecole.com and find me on all platforms at withlovecole. Hey beautiful people, so welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'll be talking to you guys about the new moon in Virgo, how this transit is going to affect your life. I know that it's already feeling dramatically life-changing. Like, I've gotten amazing news in the past few weeks, and I'm sure you guys have as well. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the new moon in Virgo, the themes, some writing prompts, self-care, and of course, as always, the human design transits. So as you guys seen in my little trailer, my name is Nicole. I'm a human design reader, a wellness entrepreneur. I'm a yogi, I'm a mom, and so much more. So I live a lifestyle that's about intentional and mindful living, spreading positive messages, and raising collective consciousness. So now let's jump into the themes of the new moon. So some themes for the new moon are simplicity, realization, because we have gate 47 transiting, acceptance, integrity, humanity, routine, bounty, because this is a very prosperous month for many of us, priorities, and also resources, and knowing what you value this month, because we also, along with it being a new moon, we also are experiencing a harvest moon. So I love that the harvest moon is in September, and it's really about gathering our resources, knowing of what is of value to us, and what we may need to let go of so that we can prioritize our energies and our values. This will help sharpen our daily routine. And of course, as we know, when we have a routine that really helps us structure our lives, we reach our goals much quicker. So for me, this is a little tangent, but I really love oil pulling, and I'll actually link the oil pulling product I use. But I have been habit stacking my oil pulling with my dog walks or with my shower. And I'm noticing that this one small thing that I'm doing just makes me feel really good. And also I'm able to get it done along with other things and not necessarily take out of my personal time. So how we value our time and our energy is really gonna come down to how we use our money to pour into resources that are benefiting us. And a mantra for this full month is to widen your focus. As we are moving as someone who's always being observed by others, we are now moving into the energy of stepping back, widening our focus because of the work we're doing. We are still focusing, but widening that focus is allowing us to now observe and create from a space of observation, as opposed to being observed and absorbing energy of others. And another conversation or energy I want to bring up for the full moon, because I mentioned value and time, is the mantra of seeing time for what it is. So we know that we live in this like complex and dynamic universe where we have unlimited time in many ways, but we also still have to live within the structure of the Maya, the earth, because we are in these physical dense bodies, right? So we do have to work with the time constraints that we are in. So as we are doing that, but also tapping into the Akashic record, as I mentioned in my last video where I talked about the Akashic record and learning to integrate the lessons that we've experienced over the past few years or seasons, we are now taking that energy and taking all the information and all the lessons we integrated and now combusting it. And that's why for today's new moon, I am talking about supernovas. The mini supernova, that is what I'm experiencing, and that is what I want to tell the collective about the energy. So let's talk about what the energy of a supernova is. So a supernova is actually a star that has died because it's transfigured. It's busted and combusted into something else. And it basically is now pouring out all the energy that it's contained within itself when this nuclear Don't correct my language or correct my language in the comments. Contains like this nuclear energy that now, once released, once the star combusts, because it just no longer can contain all of this energy, it actually burns brighter. It's like 10 times brighter than the sun, if not more, depending on the type of supernova it is. So now that we've talked about the energy of the supernova as being as part of the theme of this new moon in Virgo, let's now talk about what a new moon is, just in case, like to refresh your memory and kind of like get us on the path of how we can really utilize the moon cycle and the energy of a new moon. So when we have a new moon, this is when the earth and the sun are directly across from each other. So we actually are catching the shadow side of the moon. So the moon is least illuminated around a new moon, which is why it's often just very like a dark night sky. You can't necessarily pinpoint the moon because our sun is blocking it. We also know that the new moon doesn't always block the sun out, but when it does, that is called a solar eclipse. So since the energy of this new moon is very much the energy of a star combusting and a supernova, I do want to share with you guys an article from American Scientific that talks about the most recent supernova we had back in May, as this supernova might be or the information of the supernova might be very helpful with you, your creative journey, understanding you, your body, and yourself in relation to nature, and how you may be going through this very similar alchemical process of combusting and now sharing all the information you're learning, but also now dying in many ways to the old self. The journal is actually called Scientific American, so I'm going to link that article below for you guys, because I love leaving little wormholes in my videos so that you guys can do deeper research and self-development, because I feel like as we are moving into this future forward Aquarian age that we are also needing to conserve and keep information that is relevant, that is truthful, that is scientific in our sphere, so that as we are tapping into our divine feminine energy and the mysticism and the nature of life, we are also still conserving and preserving the things that have shown to be true in this world. So before I jump into the human design gates and transits, I want to talk to you guys about some writing prompts for the full moon, because I think it's really great to get your mind going on like how you can take this information and really absorb it and integrate it into your life to help you move forward, especially when we get to the human design transits, because human design gate information can be very life-changing, and it's also an alchemical process when you receive information about how your body and your DNA works. So when you do understand that, it starts to create and triggers, and it starts to change, and it starts to build that pressure of what your soul and your higher self wants, so, and the direction that you want to go. So let's talk about these writing prompts and then jump into the human design transits, and of course end with some self-care. Writing prompt number 1: are my daily habits helping me reach my near future goals? And this is very real, because I think a lot of times we like want something different, but we're not necessarily making changes to our daily routine. And if you're literally doing the same thing every day, you can't expect a different outcome. So maybe by looking at what we do every day and how much time is allotted to it, we can now restructure our day and prioritize things that we want to. Okay, lovely people. So my baby woke up, so I'll be feeding her and sharing you guys messages. So our next writing prompt. So the next writing prompt is: what resources are draining me or sustaining me? Because as we are harvesting, we will see what is worth keeping and what is worth leaving. And of course, this is not necessarily about getting rid of things or cutting things off, but this is more so about pouring time and energy into things that are more valuable. And by doing so, naturally, you won't be pouring time and energy into the things that are not necessarily sustaining you. Next is: how can I honor what I hold valuable? So since we are harvesting in this new moon, we can see like what do we truly value, and in doing so, what can we truly honor? Because if you value something and you want to keep it close to you, you absolutely want to prioritize it and show it appreciation and care. So for me personally, I'm realizing I really, really value having a peaceful and calm home space. So by doing that and by prioritizing that, I create that reality. I also am realizing I had to shed some things in order to prioritize that. So if I want to prioritize my time being at home with my daughter, then prioritizing or putting money towards a nanny or a sitter when I know that's not the true lifelong goal that I want to build for, then I also have to change that and now put my value or my money in other things. So this is just a chatty reflection showing you guys like how you can now reprioritize maybe your finances, showing what brings value or what type of energy you would like to sustain in your life versus what is no longer serving you. Because just like I mentioned with having a nanny, it was a beautiful experience, especially at the time of development she was at, where I didn't necessarily want to put the pressure of a small infant or newborn on my friends. So I had help, but I'm also realizing like in order for me to jump into that next level of co-creating my life with Source and God, that I needed to be able to, yes, my darling, I needed, Mommy wants to cover it because I'm filming, okay? Thank you. Yeah, I needed to be able to let go of things. Wonderful when we know what serves us in one season but may not serve us in another, but also know that all isn't lost because there was growth during that time, and because life is cyclical, things will come back. So although something may not be for a time right now, that doesn't mean it won't be valuable or sustainable later, but it does mean that you can now shift your focus and also change your perspective. And we know that I've talked about widening your focus. So by widening and seeing like truly from a observer's view, like what do I want to have in my life, but also if I want to have a lot of introspection and alone time and time with just me and my daughter, then how does that look different than the life I was creating, or how much social time I was spending out, or just how much time am I spending doing things that aren't actually about creating the slow life that I want. And the last writing prompt, what is your perception of time? So as I mentioned briefly, this month we are viewing our time, what we hold valuable and what we honor very differently. So what is your perception of time, and how will you let that perception play out in your life? So now let's talk about the human design gates and transits. So human design gate 47 is known as the gate of realization. It's also known as the aha moment, and it's also known as the gate of depletion. Thank you. It's also known as the gate of depletion, as I am being depleted. I want to read you guys a little bit of what I wrote about the gate 47, and then I'll probably talk a little more on the energy as I'm going along, because that's just what I do. So gate 47, realization or transfiguration. The alchemical process happens within a specific time and under unique circumstances, which is why you can't force it. And this is also very much the energy of why sometimes you may feel like a person or a situation is in alignment with the goal that you see that you both can fulfill, but the energy doesn't happen at the time because they haven't reached that aha moment, or maybe the ending of the experience is what brings them the aha moment. So it says the sacred body becomes one, and a whole new form is created with precision and glimmer. This new intelligence that arises from within permeates every bit of your being, and it feels as if it happened suddenly, but it's a now physical expression of all your development and your growth. So it's like it's gonna seem like you changed overnight or things have suddenly shifted, but it's really just those single cells that changed, now you're experiencing what it's like when you wake up in a new body of all new cells. Transfiguration is best described as the archetypes of Christ who transcended his body and died for all humanity. So when you transfigure and you become a new person, you die to everything you were. So I also am thinking of the energy of baptism or water. You might be someone who have baptized yourself recently or came into a personal initiation when it comes to self-development or your energy with the water or water elements. So think about that. I love you. So as you guys saw, I had it covered and then Indy pulled it away. But I think we should normalize breastfeeding. Like, I hate the fact that I even have to feel like I need to cover myself, but we just live in a world right now that's just not the reality I would like to see. And I think sometimes that disheartens me. But maybe this is part of that change, is like, yes, this is normal. And moms, especially people who look to be in service and look to embody energy of transforming the earth, we need to be able to show up comfortably to do so, and also show up as ourselves, because this is often our situation. So it says, oh yes, so I was talking about the archetypes of Christ, and like, I'm using Christ as an example because he literally was transfigured, it says in the Bible. So this is often the archetype that most people know when they talk about God and Christ. They know of the image of Jesus Christ and the life he lived. And he showed up as a perfect human being because he was truly in service to the divine his whole life. So figuring out how you can be in service to the divine might be a major theme this month, or also now realizing that you are stepping into your full embodiment of that, and that you are now in service and your gifts and talents are now coming to the fore. It's a beautiful energy, and it's the energy of the supernova, right? Going through all these experiences, living life, embodying these things, and now transmuting it and transfiguring it. So now let's talk about another very spiritual energy with gate 22, the gate of grace. And grace is the programming partner of gate 47. And grace, that aha moment, usually comes because of an act of grace, because of an act of realization. So now let's talk about grace. So in order for the chemical process of transfiguration, the 47th hexagram, to occur, one must be touched by divine grace. And we know that programming partners travel directly across from each other. So when we have gate 47 as a Virgo gate around 17 degrees to 22, we have gate 22, the gate of grace, around the same degrees, right? So when we have this energy of Virgo versus Pisces, we have the energy of Virgo that is very much regimented and routine, but also Pisces is mystical and all-knowing and bringing this like magical, ethereal, and very feminine water energy. And we see with the two coming together, this is when we create alchemy or magic in our lives. So I also say grace is abundant and universal this month. And as we experience its energy with this program partner, expect major alchemy this month. I just said that. It feels like blessings are falling from the sky, because it is. Also, because you chose to open your mind and widen your focus. We can die into living and never have to die at all. Okay, baby. That is the beauty of this energy, is that when we choose to really just die into life as it is, we become stars. I think I just swallowed a fly. Oh, well. Well, when we decide to be who we are, we now become stars, because we're no longer trying to become anything or looking to be anything. We have just lived life, learned all these lessons and experiences, integrated the energy, and then burst out into something new. Also have a video from Quasi which talks about the 33rd degree, and we know that when we hear about 33rd degree and like Freemasonry and like the occult and all these like hidden knowledge and ancient wisdom, really love Quasi's channel because he's sharing this information to everyday people, because we are all everyday people really, but people who may not necessarily have access to this because of lack of privilege or status in this material world. So with that being said, I'll link Quasi's video about the 33rd degree, and I really love his videos because he talks about how people who have these understandings of universal law, astrophysics, mental models, how we're able to now give this information to people who are do-gooders, philanthropists, light workers, and able to integrate the masculine and feminine poles, but also recreate a new world that could look nothing like the world we've seen, because we now have new levels of mastery unlocked and the material success, because these people who now have an understanding of, how to play the game of life can play effectively, and also now put money, resources, all these things into the hands of people who are going to do things that are beneficial for the collective and also create a positive world for the babies. You're so cute. She's like, all right, hurry up. All right, so now let's talk about some self-care for the new moon in Virgo. So self-care number one, let's talk about Hot 8 yoga. So I went to Hot 8 yoga for a grand opening class and I loved it so much. And I've been to this studio for many years. It's definitely been part of my spiritual practice and life practice of taking care of my body and my mind and creating that union, the yoga of the mind and the body. So I highly recommend practicing yoga this season, going to Hot 8 Yoga specifically if you live in the California area, and they're expanding, so who knows, maybe nationwide by the time you see this video, because Hot 8 Yoga is like one of my favorite studios. I've done my teacher training there. I did sculpt and hot power fusion, and I just really love the practice, the community, the people, and also, again, the yoga. So the actual self-care prompt is practice your tree pose. So we are gonna ground, and we are talking about harvesting and being a vessel that can harvest. So practice your tree pose at any of those places. And also YouTube. There's amazing teachers on YouTube. I really love Kat Meffin Yoga. I'll link her video too, a yoga video, the studio Hot 8, and also your personal practice. Yoga is in everywhere and everything. It's not just the physical movements. Next, for the harvest moon, is create an abundance plan. If we are talking about light workers and energy healers now expanding their light because they're sharing their gifts, we're talking about people who are going to be coming into material success, and I'm talking to you. So I'm talking about you. So if you know that you're going to come into money, you have to first plan for that and create an abundance plan and mindset. That starts with your daily practices. That starts with how you spend your money and what you're putting it into every day. And that also starts with managing your money well and sitting down and looking at your expenses, and also seeing that, like, if these are my expenses and this is the quality of life I want to have, what is the bridge I have to make, or what is the cutback I have to make? Beautiful. Next is recite a healing mantra. So I love healing mantras. I feel like they can be very restorative. When I took my class recently at Hot 8 Yoga, the teacher actually was doing some throat chakra work and also was chanting, and chanting can be very healing to the throat chakra. So the healing mantra I'm going to give you guys is two of them. One is Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian proverb that means I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And I love that proverb so much because it's really a universal saying that is basically giving love, light, and like positive energy to any person. And it's like the major terms of endearment that you can say. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. So it's extremely healing. The next one is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I actually learned this from my friend who's an SGI Buddhist, and it has stayed with me. And I just also feel like it's a beautiful practice because when you want to see what works spiritually, you look at the people and like how their spiritual practice has benefited them, and then take what works and leave what doesn't. And Roxy is someone who I feel like has just shown me that the light of what it is to be a meditative person and be a person that is spiritual and devoted to a practice. And Namyo Horenge Kyo is literally an expression you can say to ground yourself, to heal yourself, to ask for anything you want. And I just think it's beautiful, so I'm sharing it with you guys. Next self-care practice is spend time using your hands. When we are talking about grounding, we are talking about putting our hands in dirt or putting our feet in dirt. I walked in dirt today with Indy, and that was really fun. We went to the park together and grounded ourselves, and she played in some sand too. So you can ground with sand, you can ground with dirt, you can ground with water by going to the ocean. So find ways of just connecting your physical body to the earth this month. And lastly, if we are talking about keeping what you need and letting things go, we can also talk about reorganizing your closet for the new moon in Virgo. So this season is great for decluttering, and September is fall. Literally, the trees are decluttering themselves. And actually, in the fall, what's really cool and going into winter, the trees are now prioritizing the body, like the base of it, and its roots. So that's why we are not pouring the energy into our leaves and maybe the work that we're showing, but we're putting the energy into ourselves and really restoring ourselves and regenerating. Because then when the next season comes around and those roots bloom and we see the fruits of and the flowers of what we've created, it's like, and like everyone else is seeing it, but you knew that energy was there. Like if you think about the supernova, right? The supernova dies before people realize its beauty. It's already a dead star. So not saying that you're gonna die, but what is dying is, the person that maybe needs to continually be in a cycle of learning or experience. But now you're moving into being someone that is actually going to be taking stage and being isolated because you are the star. You're the one being watched. You're the one that's channeling the positive energy, right? And you're the one that also needs to be seen from a distance, because supernovas are seen from a distance. They're not something that can be experienced up close, which is why they can actually be very deadly. And if you think of someone who is a light worker, a lot of times they've gone through really traumatic experiences and things. And if people have experienced you in those ways up close, they are not going to really understand the beauty of what that experience has now brought you, which is the light that is now shining from you. And this light needs to be taken from afar. So think of the energy this month like that, that you are meant to be taken in from afar. You are meant to widen your focus because you are the person that is now meant to step up and be in a role of a leader, the role model, and now being someone who's like a bodhisattva, someone who is a devotee that maybe people come to when they know they need something, but also that creates a very harmonious and reciprocal energy in your life, and you get now the time to heal and restore yourself in a way that is best for you and can see people and be out there also. We have to remember that as human beings, the more you step into your light and the more you step into your unique imprint, you're actually going to be around less and less people. Because if you're thinking of it like we're born, right? Or you're in a classroom, and then as you grow and you master and you like grow in your knowledge, whether in Earth school or in actual school, you start to realize that now your community becomes way more defined, or your fractal becomes smaller. Well, this is the same thing when you're a supernova. Like, your fractal is really small because only people who can handle your light can truly be that close to you. Bow, bow. All right, so yeah, see, she can handle my light. I can handle her light. So we vibe. We vibe. I wish you guys can see her smile a little. So you want to say hi? And this is my, I was going to give you guys an Easter egg to check out Zenon, which is a Disney Channel movie that I loved growing up. And the song from Zenon, I want to say Zenon the sequel, but that's because that's what's sticking in my head. But Zenon or Zenon the sequel, the song is Supernova Girl. Go check it out. That is the Easter egg. And Indy, my Supernova Girl, Indy Moon, we are gonna sign out because I think you guys got the update. Yeah. She said, yeah. They got the update? Yeah. She's 19 and a half months. Time has flown. But again, has time flown? She's still a baby. So again, perception of time, your routines, your daily habits, how do you spend your day? Do you want to spend more time sharing messages? Do you want to spend more time cuddling with your baby? Do you want to spend more time reading books and like going to the beach with your family? Think about ways, like start really using your mental exhaustion for the life that you see around you to think about ways of creating the life that you want. For me, I was exhausted of trying to keep this little one off camera. Every time I was trying to film and like not have her around for not all the time, but a good amount of the time, just because I do videos like this. But here's Indy Moon. Here is Indy Moon. So we love you. I will see you in the next video. And yeah, go out, create art, be the supernova, be someone focused on self-development, and your life is literally gonna change. A special thank you to Miss Indy Moon for letting me use her high chair as my setup, right? And for being a star. She said, all right, bye, Mom. Let's stop talking to people and spend some time with me. Peace. And if you made it to the end, stay connected at withlovecole on all platforms.